I plan on keeping it a restaurant. I've been in the restaurant industry. I don't want to tear it down. I don't want to change it to anything. I want to keep it Frosty Mug, but I'm telling you, I'm going to make it better. We're slowly trying to rejuvenate Frosty Mug from the outside in, but the ultimate goal for Frosty Mug, at least for me and my wife's vision, is to, expand it and bring that same nostalgia to several locations across Mississippi and Louisiana, and hopefully, be able to franchise it out and make it a company that can still maintain the nostalgia of what Wiggins is, but to other communities across the U.S. and the southern region.
Hey everyone, it's Andrew Allen, and welcome back to Bottled Up. Today I'm excited to talk with Chris Gollott, owner of the Frosty Mug in Wiggins, Mississippi, and his son Payton, who works side by side with him. Chris has extensive experience in the food industry, from local restaurants to casinos, and he's dedicated to bring good food and community spirit to the Frosty Mug. Payton, a business major, is learning the ropes at the restaurant with dreams of opening his own place someday. In this episode, we'll explore their journey of taking over this beloved community spot, discussing its significance in a small town, the changes they're making to uphold tradition while introducing new menu items and new flavors, and we'll also discuss stories from their small town business experiences. So grab a Pepsi and join us for some delicious nostalgia, new recipes, and insights into keeping those frosty milkshakes and memories alive for the next generation. Welcome to this episode of Bottled Up. Today we have the owners of the Frosty Mug in Wiggins. We have Mr. Chris Gollott.
How you doing?
And we have his son Payton.
Thank you for having us.
So Chris, I wanted to kind of get into a little bit of the history of what you guys have done before you acquired the Frosty Mug. First off, when did you guys buy the Frosty Mug and become the owners of it?
Well, we officially took ownership of it December 7th, 2023 is when we actually took ownership of it. So it's been an interesting road since then and leading up to it.
I honestly did not think that it was that far back. I thought it was last year. I mean, time has flown by, hasn't it?
Oh, it flies too fast.
Well, I wanted to kind of talk to you. What was the journey that led you up to purchasing an establishment like that? Because the last conversation I had with the former owner, we kind of talked about how cherished that restaurant is in that community up there. And, it's been around for so long and how it's a staple in the community. And a lot of the kids who work there were high school kids who come back and like their kids have worked there, that kind of thing. So tell me a little bit about your history. So where were you living and where did you grow up, Chris?
I grew up in D'Iberville, which is back in the day used to be just as small as Wiggins, with the population as big as Wiggins. And we always had that one store that we'd like to go to and eat po' boys or hamburgers at. That was just the mom and pop's joint, the hangout spot for everybody. So the connection was kind of there already with Frosty Mug, seeing it established the same way and seeing how the community really held it up through all the bad times.
Right.
It's kind of reminded me of the old place I used to go to when I was younger, when I was working down in D'Iberville for lunch. We'd go there and pretty much the place was held up by the locals until Katrina took it out.
What was the name of that spot?
Fayard's Grocery. It was right there on Central Avenue.
Yep.
It had the best po' boys and burgers in town, and it was a little market, so you can buy your chips and drinks and get fresh cut meat and shrimp from Gollotts. They would sell a little bit of shrimp from Gollotts down there. So it was like a little mini market for the residents to come in and buy if they wanted like steak or something that night, or just buy a po' boy or a hamburger, or just walk in and get a bag of chips and a glass bottle of Bart's root beer.
Yeah, those kind of spots, the hidden gems of neighborhoods. You are right. Basically, if they get established in a community, normally the community does rally around those kind of spots. But you can't do anything about what happened with Katrina.
Oh yeah, it's kind of hard to take Mother Nature out of the dynamic once she flattens the building. They attempted to rebuild, but it just didn't work out because there was so much devastation down there, and it took so long that they just kind of decided not to rebuild. Okay,
so grew up in D'Iberville. What did you do? Were you always in the restaurant business? Were you always in and around that? How did you kind of make your way into that?
My grandpa, he was a chef. He worked at the Coliseum, and then he moved over to Ingalls and actually retired from Ingalls as their assistant food and beverage director. But I kind of grew up underneath him, learned how to cook underneath his wing. First thing I ever cooked was I broke my first egg yolk when I was 6
That's cool.
at his house, and from there I've always worked in the hospitality industry. I hate to say it, but back in the day, you'd try to work under the table and get straight cash. They didn't have to pay Uncle Sam anything, so I did a lot of jobs that way. And then also was always in the food industry. Not if I wasn't cooking it, I was processing it when I worked down at Gollotts. So I was always in it, never really got out of it.
It's in your blood, basically.
Hmm.
So you worked in food basically your whole life. What were some of the things that you were doing before you found your way up to Wiggins? Because I know D'Iberville and Wiggins are kind of far apart from each other.
Oh yeah, my first job I actually had that people Wiggins would probably really know of is the O'Neill family. That when they opened
Yep.
O'Neill's,
Oh,
I
yeah.
actually started working there. Me and a bunch of my friends when they opened up in D'Iberville, we started there, and that was, I guess you want to say, my official on pay through the government side.
Yeah, the government picked up on what you were doing at
Yeah,
that point.
that was the first time I actually got legally paid to be working in the kitchen. And I've had like 3 jobs before that, but that was my first one was O'Neill's. And I started in there, and then that's when the casinos kind of started popping off. And I wanted to get more in depth with the hospitality industry. So I went and worked at Casino Magic and Mason Randolph's as a busboy. So I learned a lot of the front of the house and fine dining side of it, a lot of the front of the house and how to treat guests and guest service
Yeah,
on that aspect, and
that's a
really
skill
seeing
set in
how,
itself, man.
oh yeah, seeing how a kitchen runs versus just like a little mom and pop's place. So it's that's my first start of it. But I guess where I really cut my teeth in the industry was at Island View. I was there for about 10 and a half years.
Oh, wow.
Moved up from a lead cook all the way up to sous chef. Went from working at Emerald's, fine dining over there, Carter Green Steakhouse, C&G Grill. Did banquets, buffet. So I really cut my teeth in there, and then how to manage and run, kind of see how an operation runs is really when you get into buffets, that's a whole new beast. If you can manage and make a buffet make money, you can manage anything and make it money.
You know Anthony over there at Carter Green?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know him a little bit. He's a good dude.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I never thought about the different, and it's just from me not being in it, but like the different types of presentation when it comes to fast casual, fast food, buffet, fine dining. Each one of those has probably a different process and a different mindset on how you're gonna do it, and I imagine the way you make money with each one of those is different. So explain to me like the difference between a little mom and pop kitchen where, you're turning orders out and your heaviest times normally around lunchtime to like running a buffet. Like explain the compare and contrast those two.
Well, the quality, when I first bought the establishment at Frosty Mug and kind of really started cutting my teeth in there and getting the kitchen staff where I wanted them to, I told them, I was like, yes, ticket times are important, but the most important thing is quality. If we can produce good quality product in a timely manner, it's all right if we're a little bit longer than what we want because the guests will be happy because they got a good quality food.
Yeah.
So buffet, presentation wise, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's kind of, you're slapping food in a tray and putting it out there so the masses can eat it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're wanting to make it taste good. You're trying to make it look as presentable as possible within the 5 seconds that before it gets ravaged. But in like a little mom and pop's joint, you go there for the experience, the nostalgia of the building, the nostalgia of the history behind it. And then when you get in the food, sitting down outside underneath the patio, hearing the 70s music, the cars drive by, drinking your milkshake and you unwrap the burger. It's all about the presentation, the feel of what's going on.
That's really interesting, man. Thinking about it, you are right. Like as far as a buffet is concerned, I mean, you're basically trying to refill what is empty.
Oh yeah.
And then I do agree that people are more likely and willing to wait for higher quality than, just getting it super fast and the burger's no good.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that the more you do it, the faster those times will be with the quality maintaining itself.
Oh yeah, the kitchen. The main thing is it's all about muscle memory. It's really a knowledge of what's going on, but really muscle memory and presentation and how the burgers are assembled. Every some burgers has got lettuce, tomato, onion, pickle, mayonnaise, and mustard on it. Some of it only has lettuce and tomato. Some of it has this sauce. I think we got over 14 different sauces that we make in house that goes on different burgers, different platters, different fry bowls that we all make in house. Before I bought it, they only had three, and there wasn't even made in house. They were just pre-ordered. So a lot of things I brought in because they had the ingredients to make it. It's just taking the time and the effort and the knowledge to do it. So not only the knowledge to execute and make different sauces with this product that we have already in house, but also making the sauces better than what you're bringing in from just your regular vendor.
Well, Chris, let me ask Payton some questions. Payton, so you've been with your dad, working with your dad for about a year. What did you think about when your dad said that he was going to be buying the Frosty Mug and that was going to be kind of the trajectory of what your family was going to be doing?
I was a little shocked at first because I woke up one day and they were just like, yeah, we're looking at buying Frosty Mug. And when they told me it was Frosty Mug, I was like, well, that's kind of cool because it's been around Wiggins for a very long time. A lot of people know it up there as like a good restaurant, good community. So I was a little surprised that they were buying it, but I was also, in a good way, happy they were buying it for the community and how in depth it is with the community.
Yeah, I imagine you were pretty excited. Places like that are special. They die unless someone picks up the flag and continues to carry it on, and that's basically what y'all's family has done. Is a lot of times people don't want to take the risk or exposure for themselves to try to build something on a brand like that. But I'm really glad that your family decided to do it because it is a special place up there in Wiggins.
It really is.
So, Payton, have you been involved in the food industry like your dad, or what did you like to do before you started working at the Frosty Mug with him?
Well, before Frosty Mug, I only really had one other job, and that was at Wendy's. So, I mean, if you can want to consider Wendy's part of it, then I guess.
I mean, that's kind of a little entry into the game that you're doing. It's a lot different than what you're doing now because of the ingredients. Okay, so you worked at Wendy's, and then how long until you said, hey, how did it come about that you started working with your dad?
So when they told me it was they were gonna buy it, I didn't have a job at the moment, so it was kind of like a kind of in the given thing to be able to have somewhere work with people I'm around and care about and love for, and not be in a stressful environment going into college where I'm at right now.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is you got the same treatment I got. Is like, hey, guess what? You have a job now.
Pretty much.
And it's at the Frosty Mug, and you start tomorrow.
That's pretty much how it was.
Well, believe it or not, when we were initially talking to the owners and we finally agreed on the old owners, when we finally agreed to buy it, one of the clauses in the 2 week period, before buying it was that my son start working there. So they hired him under their old business, and we rehired him under the new business.
Oh, that's great, man. That's great. So Payton, how you liking working there, man? Are you learning a lot about operating and how everything that goes into it, as far as like, making sure you don't have too much waste in the food and all that? Are you learning?
I'm picking up it pretty well because right now I'm looking in the future of eventually opening up my own business at some point. I'm a business major, so it's kind of like good to have parents that own a restaurant or a business and have to run it and keep up with everything. It's a good way to see like how it's actually ran and how a business is actually supposed to be ran and produce good income.
You're basically getting a free internship, my man.
Pretty much.
Good for you. You going to school up at Perk?
I am. That's where I'm at right now.
Good for you, man. That MGCC is a good. I went there for a little while. That's a good group of schools. So you're going to be a business major?
Yes, sir.
What are you focusing on as far as business is concerned? Like marketing, advertising. Like what is there a specific major you're looking at?
Right now, I'm just going for general to kind of get a little bit of everything before I figure out like what exactly part of it I want to get into.
Yeah, you're young, man. You're probably just knocking out all the core stuff right now. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Good for you, man. Just if I can give anybody any advice who's a freshman in college, get good grades early.
Yeah.
If you knock out and get A's your freshman year, you'll have an easier time the later years, because I did the opposite of that, and then I was chasing my tail the entire time. I went up there and kind of got a little wild, and I paid for it the last 2 years of my college career. So get really good grades early, and you'll be all right.
That is true.
Well, Chris, so you purchased the Frosty Mug back in December of 23. So you guys are this December, it'll be 2 years.
Yes, sir.
What was your vision whenever you decided to pull the trigger and you had the conversation with your wife? What was your vision of how you were going to evolve that place into and make it your own?
Well, me and my wife, when we first bought it, we saw what it was, but we started going there and eating it while we're in the process of buying it. And me, as being in the food industry for as long as I would take down notes of things that I would like to change flavor profile wise. And then when we would do tours of the building, kind of taking notes down of things that needed to be changed systematically on a system side to make things flow better.
More efficient.
Yeah, more efficient and flow better, and where people would work together. And when they made the announcement that we were going to purchase Frosty Mug to the employees, the first hurdle that me and my wife was worried about is how many employees were going to stay.
Yep.
And believe it or not, all of them stayed. I was a little shocked. Usually you lose a bunch on the swap over from new ownership just because they don't know. Everybody doesn't like that change. And,
it's a scary time, Chris.
Oh, yeah. They were worried, and they didn't know how it was going to be better or worse, or what the knowledge was that the people that was coming in that's going to buy it. And I understood all that, and they've only seen us, I think, 3 times in that whole process of looking at Frosty Mug. So when we finally purchased it and we kind of pulled the team together and we told them our vision of Frosty Mug and how we want to revamp it, we want to remodel Frosty Mug, we want to make it look like it was back in the 60s, redo, pretty much breathe new life into the building. And some of the employees were skeptical, and some were really excited about it. And really, the ones that really bit into the vision that we told them is really still there. And the ones that were kind of skeptical about the whole thing and saying that this is possibly can't happen, this is the best that it'll ever do kind of thing, that attitude, right. They're no longer there. Not because I bought it, but it's just because they decided to leave. Not pushed them out on that end, but they just didn't want to be there no more. And restaurants will burn you out real quick. And I think that's what it was, is they were just burnt out from the whole, just the whole thing. So our vision for Frosty Mug for this particular location is to really revamp it, get the kitchen flowing a lot better than what it was, get some new equipment in there up front, the same way, kind of streamline our ice cream and desserts and have it a guest friendly. And we're slowly working on that with bringing in new digital media platforms on the restaurant, actually getting some local craftsmen involved with doing some woodwork around the building and installing beautiful cabinetry around our digital boards, having locals design our signs for underneath the patio, so you kind of know where you're going. And we're in talks with another local person to do a new Frosty Mug sign for the street. So we're slowly trying to rejuvenate Frosty Mug from the outside in. But the ultimate goal for Frosty Mug, at least for me and my wife's vision, is to expand it and bring that same nostalgia to several locations across Mississippi and Louisiana, and hopefully be able to franchise it out and make it a company that can still maintain the nostalgia of what Wiggins is, but to other communities across the U.S. and the southern region.
That's thinking big, Chris. I like that. I also like how you basically wanted to, and just from hearing in the description, it's kind of like you wanted to have the feel of the 60s with the technology of now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a huge fan of people who are, like people who take an old truck or an old car, like a 50s or 60s truck and car, and from the outside looking in, it looks like it would be stock. Like they just kept it in 100% actual stock shape. But then you get into it and like it has the bells and whistles of like LED lighting and, it has a Bluetooth player in it that looks exactly like the original. I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, and that's what makes it. And that's what we're trying to do is, we have our own problems. Being that we don't have an indoor seating, we only have a patio. It's really we're limited on, people coming out and sitting during the summer because it's so hot, and during the winter
Right.
because it's so cold. So, the few things that we want to do is we want to kind of add on to the building. We want to do a smaller sit down area for Frosty Mug at that particular location. And possibly, we're thinking of ideas of what we can do to enclose the patio, but not make it feel enclosed.
Yeah.
So you keep the wind off of you and have some patio heaters down there, or even some outdoor like AC or big wind fans to kind of turn the air in there to cool it down, so where it makes it more welcoming and enjoyable to come and sit and eat in the underneath the patio for Frosty Mug. And those guys that are working outside all day can come in and suck up some of the AC on their short 30 minute to an hour lunch break they get.
Yeah, I think that's going to be crucial, Chris, honestly, is making sure that you can get the weather off of those people and get a more acclimated environment, because we aren't going to have the weather like we've had the last 2 weeks every week.
Oh, I wish it would be, because I'd be
God,
a
man.
happy man.
Yeah. Yeah. You and me both. But, let's talk a little bit about the menu changes and some of the things that you have coming up when it comes to new and improved and evolved Frosty Mug. So when you took over, I knew that some of the menu items. I've had the burgers before. I think we've had y'all's burgers at the plant. I think you guys did some for us, which we really appreciate that. All the guys and girls up here really loved them. But talk through a little bit of the first menu changes that you decided to do whenever y'all purchased it.
Well, when we first took over, like I was telling you before, my notes, the things that I write down and that I wanted to improve from a flavor standpoint, a flavor profile standpoint, and walking into the kitchen and changing the technique and style of how things were cooked, all went into play with the menu. Believe it or not, and most people are baffled by this, but me and my wife really didn't change the menu at all the first, I'd probably say about 9 months that we were there. We really didn't change nothing. What we did was take the processes that was being used and improve the processes that they were using, and improved them and implemented processes that were a much better way to cook things, much better way to season things. And like I told you before, developing and making our own sauces from scratch instead of bringing it in, to where you have all those nice flavor profiles to where the community would come in and eat, and they're like, hey, you changed this. We like it. And that was my biggest concern, with, my wife's biggest concern was us slowly changing these things on the menu. Her biggest concern was we're going to drive the community away. And I'm like, no, I promise you they'll like it, because we started making our own ranch. And then, that blew up to where everybody wanted our ranch. And then we started brining our chicken for our grilled chicken. And then all of a sudden now I almost sell more chicken than I do hamburgers.
That's great, man.
So, I mean, there's small little processes that we've always grilled chicken there, but we just took the extra care and brined it to where it has that nice flavor. It stays juicy, and people love our grilled chicken now, versus where they would only get it every once in a while.
I didn't think about that, Chris, about, when you have a spot like this that's been a staple for like decades and decades, right? Generations. And you don't want to come in and immediately change anything. And
Oh, no.
I didn't think that through when I asked you that question. You want it to be as authentic as possible and just make small tweaks, like you said.
Oh yeah, I mean, the first, I'm going to be honest with you. Me and my wife were, going through and filling out the paperwork and the loan process to get the money to get Frosty Mug. We talked, let's see, I had 4 different interviews to get this place, and none of them really ever asked me about my experience or my background in it, or on it, business, or my background in the restaurant, or my financial background if I had the money to do it. Their main concern was, are you changing Frosty Mug? What are you doing to it? Why are you changing this? how are you going to improve it? You're not tearing it down. They were more worried about the building and the nostalgia of the Frosty Mug and making sure it's still going to be there serving burgers than the person that was really buying it. And it struck me like, wow, that's how deep the community is into Frosty Mug. Is they're more worried about the building not being tore down or changed to something different. And, with meeting with the president of the bank that we did our loan through, the Wiggins mayor, city councilman, after talking to all of them, I'm like, no, I plan on keeping it a restaurant. I've been in the restaurant industry. I don't want to tear it down. I don't want to change it to anything. I want to keep it Frosty Mug, but I'm telling you, I'm going to make it better. There will be changes, and there will be better. I promise you. And now I used to see them once a month. Now I see them 3 or 4 times a week.
Man, that's great.
Ordering different stuff. So
how crazy is it that the president of the bank's more worried? He's loaning you money. Yeah. And he's not like, hey, let me see your financials. It's like, no, it's like, hey man, don't touch the menu, don't touch the building, don't make it a Pilates studio.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's insane. That just goes to show you, like you said, how incredible of a spot this is.
Well, I mean, he's what we call a Wigginite. He's grown up in Wiggins. He went to Frosty Mug. He met his wife at Frosty Mug. I've had people that was engaged at Frosty Mug. I've had people ask Frosty Mug to cater their wedding because they both worked at Frosty Mug, got engaged at Frosty Mug. Their first date was at Frosty Mug. So, I mean, the stories that are built up on Frosty Mug as, bleeds into it. But from his standpoint, he worked there. He ate there. He gets this. He was getting the same thing. And me and him were talking one day, and he's like, I really want to try one of your po' boys. I want a ham po' boy. I was like, look, you can get a ham po' boy. I was like, but you can get my style ham po' boy, what I grew up on. He's like, well, what'd you grow up on? I was like, I'll make you a po' boy. So I made him a ham po' boy. That's what he wanted. And we do it with lettuce and tomato and mayonnaise. But down on the coast, we press our po' boys to get that nice crispy bread.
100%.
They've never had a pressed po' boy before. I was like, dude, I promise you, once you get your po' boy pressed, you'll never go back. And ever since then, he's ordered a ham po' boy pressed.
I grew up on those as well, and it was Keith Fayard had the gas station across the street from the plant on Dido Road.
Oh yeah,
and it was Keith and Dolores, and when I was growing up as a teenager working at the plant in the vending department, like fixing vending machines and stuff, they knew my voice on the phone. They knew what my order was, and I would just walk across the street and eat them. I ate those 5 days a week.
Oh yeah.
So press po' boys, you are right. Once you try it, you're not going back.
Oh no, you can't. That's the only way I eat my po' boys is pressed. I mean, just to have that crispy outside, and then I don't know what it does, but it kind of like makes everything melt together. It's almost like a po' boy lasagna. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I did the roast beef, gravy on the side, no tomato, and I would go over and buy a bag of chips and a drink. And back then it was under $10. I mean, now you're not leaving out of there for less than $17.
Oh yeah. And that's what people don't understand is, the food costs are going up, and, people will come through. Well, the funny thing is me and my front of the house staff was talking, and there was a movie, and I don't know what movie it was quoted on, but it was something about a milkshake and how they would never pay $5 for a milkshake. And I looked at them, I'm like, no, the funny thing is I think the movie came back out in the 80s. Yeah. And I was like, hey, it's 2025. You're paying $5 for a milkshake now. Because that's our basic milkshake. Getting the basic vanilla milkshakes, $5.25, $5.30.
The customers are like have sticker shock, but they have to understand it's not like everyone in the world's being greedy all at once. Some people are, but the proprietor and the owner is they're having to pass that down because they can't pay their people if they don't pass it down to the customer.
Oh yeah,
that's a hard line, man. And we go through the dance. Every year with PepsiCo, we're waiting around Q4. They let us know what the concentrate increase is going to be. And then after we have to get all our letters ready for all our customers, and then we have to send it out. Yeah. And that's the worst thing. That's the last thing I ever want to do is to increase costs to anyone because I don't think that they should go up, but it's just one of those things, man.
That's like our chicken. Before the whole bird flu and the egg demic. I was buying a case of 20 pounds of chicken breast for around $35 a case. And now, like, while that was going on, I had the same chicken that I was buying for $35 a case shot up to 80, $85
Jesus.
within a month. And, to take my prices just for 1 month and jack up all my chicken, that's just unforeseen on the business. And it's a loss that we have to take.
Yep.
But, all you could do is, you pray that the prices come down and you pray that the community sticks out with you and still orders your stuff. And then, the price of the chicken started coming down. Obviously, the eggs price started coming down. But, most guests doesn't see it from that side, that aspect. They just are upset because they're paying $14 for a roast beef po' boy, a 6-inch roast beef po' boy. And they remember back in the 80s and 90s when it was, $6-7 for a 6-inch roast beef po' boy.
Yep.
Well, the prices of beef ain't the same as it was back in the 80s and 90s.
Absolutely not. And you're talking about movie quotes. I was watching Breakfast Club, and there's a quote in there where he's like talking to the kids. He's like, "I make $31,000 a year," and he was like bragging about it.
Yeah,
I was like, dude, man,
that ain't nothing now.
That didn't age well, my man.
Yeah, that's nothing now.
Yeah, you're at the poverty line, my man. But I do get it, and I think that customers they got to understand that there's no ill intent. Whenever you're charging what you charge, you have a budget that you have to make, and you have to do what you have to do. I mean, the volatility of what you have to do is there's so many things that you buy that go into so many different things, and you kind of have to think on your feet a little bit of how long are we gonna eat this? Is there anything that we can do to kind of plus up and make a little more money because we're losing money on this? I would imagine there's a lot of that going on.
Oh yeah, you got your quad. I mean, there's ways to you have your menu. There's, I call it a quad platform, where you got your roses and your buds, your thorns, and your potentials, and your bulldogs is what they like to call it. And you really, at the end of the year, or when you do your yearly review, you cut your bulldogs out because they're not making you money, and you try to say, okay, what can I do to improve my buds to become roses and to make everything on the menu a rose? And that's really an analyzation that I do, once a month. I really look at the product mix and see, okay, what's selling, what's not selling, what's making me money, what's not making me money, and really cut the things that aren't selling, that's taking up space. Because I don't know if you've seen Frosty Mug, but Frosty Mug ain't the biggest building in the world. But
I have, yes, 100%. 100%.
And as big as menu we have, space is probably the most valuable thing in that whole building. And for me to cut a menu item that frees up a shelf space for me to bring in something else that could possibly make me money is what I'd rather do than keep something that's not going to make me money on the shelf. So, we usually, like, y'all have y'all's quarter where you up the price on Pepsi products because of the concentration.
Yeah.
We usually do that around July. We'll price analyze everything through the year, see what sells, what needs to go up, because by then the pricing of beef and chicken and all that has kind of went up after the summer and the winter, and everything's kind of locked in. That way I can see exactly what everything's costing. So if I have to raise my prices, I do it usually in around July.
The middle of the year.
Yep, middle of the year.
Okay. Well, there's a lot that goes in. I've never talked to an owner that has the description of, I like your description of the buds and the roses and kind of like how you look at what you have to cut. I mean, those are difficult decisions you have to make because you're going to make some people upset, but it's a business decision that you have to make because, like you said, space is at a premium, so I think that the mindset that you have is very unique when it comes to, especially with what you guys purchased and what you're entering into a community, and they're trusting you with a place that they grew up. I mean, what you just mentioned about all the people who got engaged and married and catering their weddings. I mean, that's a lot of people who have that place and hold it dear in their hearts. And I think that you guys have a good handle on that, and you're not oblivious to that fact, which is nice. So, and I also think that the way that you're kind of plussing it up and, making your own sauces and taking that extra level of care when it comes to the dishes, and I think it's going to be successful, man. And I think that, if there's anything as a company that we can do to help you guys be more successful, that's why we're here. My job isn't just to be, a vendor for you where I come in and I drop my stuff off and you pay me and we leave. It's we're a partner in this with you, when it comes to advertising and trying to get stuff out there for you guys. So if there's ever anything that I can do or my company can do, just let me know, man, because I'm rooting for y'all.
Oh, for sure. And the one aspect that I have, I'm gonna be honest with you, that I'm not really good at, but where my weakness is where kind of my wife steps up and takes the reins, and she drives me crazy with it every once in a while. But the community outreach that she does and gets involved in the community with the Stone High Prod Band, really reaching out to them and sponsoring them and the MGC dance team, the cheerleading team, and the Stone tennis team. I mean, there's so many people that she has reached out to her and we helped out with, from sports events to band events to teachers appreciation that we've helped with, and the local communities, not just with the Stone educational system, but also, Vardaman, the Gateway Christian School over there. We've helped them out a lot. We knew the community would be involved, but we really wanted the community to know who we was on a personal level, and to really stick Frosty Mug out there in the community and let it kind of wave its flag. And she's done an excellent job doing that, and especially with all the festivals that she got us doing. And we just started doing catering events from a much different, a different style catering event than most people would expect from Frosty Mug. So we're actually picking up on some catered events that I don't think Frosty Mug would have been able to would have ever picked up on. And we just started opening up for breakfast, and we're really just trying to give back to the community. And she's done that on that aspect, because I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm more of a numbers guy, business, back of the house. I'm not the face of the business. She's more of the voice and the face of the business. That's how kind of we agreed to do it. And she's great at that part, and I'm great at my part. And that's how we kind of Frosty Mug is run.
Well, I think, yeah, man, you gotta have somebody who accentuates your weaknesses, right?
Oh yeah.
And y'all are doing a good job. And I think that, the community is lucky that y'all are the ones that are doing it, because anybody could have just snatched that place up and they could have completely ruined it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, Chris, I think I've kept you too long, my man. I really enjoyed having this conversation with you, and kind of learning a little bit about the ins and outs of what it takes to run a business and take over an iconic business like you guys have, and where it's going in the future. And, like I said earlier, if there's anything that I can do or we can do to help you, don't hesitate to ask. If anyone wants to visit the Frosty Mug, explain, for those who don't know where it is, explain to the listener where they need to go to eat at Frosty Mug.
Well, we're located at 514 South Magnolia Drive in Wiggins, Mississippi, or you can actually come. We have outdoor dining. We got drive-through. We serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. We also are on Grub, Uber Eats, and DoorDash, as well as online ordering through our website. So you can come visit us on our website. You can access our website through Facebook, and you can reach out and do for catering too.
What's the address of that website?
It's frostymug1960.com.
Got it. Well, Chris, Payton, I appreciate y'all's time. Wishing y'all the best of luck. And if there's anything that we can do here at Allen Beverages, you let us know, okay?
Yeah, for sure. Come out and visit us.
I will, man. I need to. I don't think I've been up there in the last year or so. I need to come. I know that my aunt and uncle, they're retired, and he has an old convertible, a Honda convertible. And if the weather's like this, they drive up to you guys, and they go and they get a shake and a burger. So if you see a little Honda convertible in there, that's with a blonde lady. Uh-huh. That's my aunt and my uncle. So you can go over and just say hello to them. They'd love to meet you guys.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come up on our Stock Hop Saturday, man. We throw specials and try to bring in the old timey cars, which when it's pretty like this, they usually roll out, and then usually we try to do a car show twice a year, one around our birthday and one when it's a little bit cooler because July is hot. But yeah, dude, you're gonna have to come out, try my roast beef po' boy. Tell me how I'm doing versus Fayard's. I know I'm not as good, but I'm trying.
Well, I'll be honest, I would like to try it because, you might be better. Who knows, man? Who knows?
If it's the same Fayard roast beef po' boy that I'm thinking of, which is a pot roast style po' boy, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate it. And Peyton, you keep on grinding, my man. You're gonna be fine. You got parents that are looking out for you and leading you right, so you'll be good.
Oh yeah.
Hey, thanks for joining us on this episode of Bottled Up. A huge thanks to Chris and Payton Gollott from the Frosty Mug and Wiggins for sharing their adventure and family business journey. We had a great time chatting with them. The Frosty Mug isn't just a place to eat. It's a beloved Wiggins treasure. The Gollott family is dedicated to keeping its legacy alive while introducing fresh ideas like homemade sauces and plans for expansion. They emphasize blending the classic vibe with modern touches, ensuring cozy outdoor dining all year round. Supporting local spots like the Frosty Mug helps preserve the unique flavors and memories of small towns, like their famous po' boys and milkshakes. If you haven't visited the Frosty Mug yet, stop by for a delicious burger or milkshake at 514 South Magnolia Drive in Wiggins. You can also check out frostymug1960.com for online orders or more info. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of Bottled Up. Thanks so much for your continued listening and support. Y'all are the best, and we love bringing you all the amazing people, businesses, and stories that shape our coastal home. Until next time, remember to always support our local businesses, restaurants, events, and attractions. Cheers. Thanks for listening to the Bottled Up Podcast. Want us to deliver this show to your email inbox as they drop? Want to tell us about how you like the show? Or do you want to tell us about a Gulf Coast business or restaurant that you'd like for us to spotlight in any upcoming episodes? Email Morgan Wheeler at mwheeler, MWHEELER at abevinc.com. That's ABEVINC.com. Want to know more about Allen Beverages and how we work with our clients, partners, and vendors? Check out allenbeverages.com. This show was edited and produced by Johnny Gwynn and Deep Fried Studios.